It's Sunday night. You know what that means. I'm trying to be cool. Welcome to this week's edition of Between the Pot and a Hard Place. I'm Stephen Colton.
And I'm Chris Kirkpatrick. And you know what, Stephen? I think you are cool.
Well, today I just joined Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
I met Terry Silver. He's a pretty good guy. He's just misunderstood. No, forget that. I took this off. No. That'd be awesome if I just ripped it open. There'd be a big eagle or something on my chest. I'm flipping the script.
Right. Right.
I'm excited. I mean, I wore this because I like the shirt. I was like, yay, I found one. And I'm excited for the show. I mean, it's just under 3 weeks or so before, a little over 3 weeks, I guess.
Do we have a date? What is the actual date for it to be released?
December 31st.
December 31st.
Yeah, because I think last year they released the third season on New Year's Eve, but they advertised it as like January 2nd or something like that. And then like it just instantly popped up. Like, surprise, like we did it early. And so they're doing the same thing this year, other than except just saying, okay, it's the 31st. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
I feel like what a way to ring in the new year, right?
And I'm sitting here thinking, like, can I binge watch the entire season before midnight?
I wouldn't doubt you.
I mean, because 10 hours, maybe. I mean, depending on what time I start watching it. Stay up till 3 a.m. East Coast time. I hate how, I like it, but I hate it. They release stuff now. It used to be you could go on there at like 11:45, 12 o'clock at night and see the new stuff that posts for that date. But then now, like East Coast, we have to wait till like 3 or 4 in the morning to see it because they wait until it's like globally that date. Which, okay, fine, but still.
So, what are you looking forward to for this new season?
I really Karate Kid 3 was one of the more, I guess, I don't want to say frowned upon movies, but it wasn't the best. I liked it better than Next Karate Kid, personally. But Terry Silver, I thought that character was pretty interesting, and given the fact that we've seen all the backstory with Terry Silver and John Kreese back in the military in Vietnam and all that craziness that they went through together, you almost feel for both of them until you see what they're doing now. It's like, oh wait, they're crazy. That's right. Forget. But it's one of those weird things where they've made a villain and they make you feel a little bit for the villain because it's not really his fault that he's so crazy. Being tortured, being a POW and being tortured and captured and all this stuff. It's like, and he killed that one guy, like tossed him into that pit of snakes and everything. It's like, okay, that's where they came up with the Cobra idea. Snake karate. I love their landlord. Snake karate. But yeah, I'm excited to see that, like what they're going to be doing. And of course, Robbie now, as we know, is going to be in Cobra Kai. So it kind of mirrors the fact that Daniel joined Cobra Kai for just a minute, but still. I think by the end of season 4, Robbie's going to be back and Cobra Kai is going to be done. So I don't know. Hopefully they're not done because what can you do after? Once Cobra Kai is defeated, you can't keep calling it Cobra Kai because it's done. Where do we go after season 4 if they resolve everything? Because Karate Kid 3, well, there was no more Cobra Kai. It was done. They defeated them. They went away and everything was fine until Hilary Swank just had to learn karate. But that had nothing to do with Cobra Kai or anything. And I think that's part of the reason why Next Karate Kid got so much hate and the fact that Hilary Swank was really terrible. I like her now, but back then she was just, I don't know if it was her or the script or what, a little bit of both maybe. Like, I think I didn't care.
Right. It was definitely the first one that didn't have Daniel in it anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
That was a big part
and I think that it was. And as much as I love, Pat Morita, and Pat Morita certainly did everything he could to save it, it really did have a much more kind of, female focused, I remember that he taught her a kata, right? Because she didn't know how to dance. So he taught her a kata form, as a way to trick her into learning how to dance.
Yeah, and they had some good moments in that movie, honestly. Like, my favorite moment, which is probably one of the funniest moments, was when she's changing her shirt or something, and Mr. Miyagi just walks in like, I go, oh, so sorry, so sorry. And, that was pretty funny. Mr. Miyagi had to learn that, like, a teenage girl is a little bit different than a boy. So
Right.
you had to learn those boundaries and that respect and everything. But
It was much more of a I thought there was a lot more humor in
yeah,
that. Even with the monks, who
yeah,
were there for a bit of a comic relief. Um,
that
they
reminded,
were really trying hard, I think, to make a female Karate Kid, but it just didn't land. I felt like that movie was just really, as my kids would say, it was really cringy.
it kind of was in a lot of ways. And not until now, but I realized that those monks reminded me a lot of the Ninja Turtles 3 movie, which is probably the worst movie ever made of any kind. Turtles 3. I mean, they go to Japan, cool, but it has nothing to do with the turtles. Other than
See,
the
the
fact,
monks did no. That
except for the fact that they're actually physically turtles, that has nothing else has anything to do with those characters.
Right. For me, the monks reminded me of, and I don't know if you remember it, Surf Ninjas.
Okay, yeah.
I got a real Surf Ninjas vibe from it. Either way, it was very, very 80s. It kind of laughed. It kind of we lost the seriousness that we had appreciated about what Karate Kid was about.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, the monks, as far as turtles goes, it reminded me of the four samurai warriors that were transported back to New York. And they were doing goofy stuff with Casey Jones, like bowling and playing pool and all this goofy. And Casey Jones, of all people, is like, hey, come on, man, let's go eat nachos and go bowling. It's like,
right.
why was he even in that movie at all? And that guy that was in Japan that looks just like him, I was like, are we supposed to believe that was his ancestor that just happened to know all the other guys? It's just, that's kind of how I
I
felt
know.
about
I know.
and Brian says, how you doing, Brian? I can't
Hey,
even remember the one Hillary with Hillary Swank besides that she was in it. So it must be pretty forgettable, or just my old brain just dropped it out. Well, honestly,
you know what?
it
No.
was forgettable in a way.
Yeah, I've watched it more than once. It's debatable in my household. My wife really loves it. She really likes it, and she normally has pretty good taste in movies. So I give her a pass. But as a longtime fan of Karate Kid, it definitely ranks there for me. At the bottom. But I definitely give them props for trying to
Yeah,
rebrand it for a female audience. I kind of feel like the next Karate Kid did for the Karate Kid franchise what the gender bent Ghostbusters did for Ghostbusters,
but at
right?
least next Karate Kid, I haven't seen the 2016 Ghostbusters, but or the girl one. Um, but with what Karate Kid did was at least they connected the two worlds together
Right. It
in
was and it
Mr.
was a
Miyagi.
real right. And it was a real story that was connected with at least the Daniel LaRusso universe. So it
Yeah,
was
it
it was
made sense.
familiar, right?
I mean, because it's like, what
Um,
would Mr. Miyagi do, and why was he not hanging around Daniel anymore? Like, what happened to Daniel? Like, they didn't
right.
really explore that. But I mean, in reality, we all know probably that Ralph Macchio is probably too busy doing this or this. So I mean, that makes sense. But story wise, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
with Ghostbusters, there was no connection whatsoever. They didn't go like, did you guys read this in the paper? There's these Ghostbusters over in New York. Let's do that. Okay, that would have been enough to connect them, but they didn't even
Right.
bother with that. And what
I
gets
just
me about that movie, though, honestly, is all these people now that are reviewing or talking about Ghostbusters Afterlife, which if you guys haven't seen that yet, go watch it right now. Pause
it is
this
so
or
good.
whatever. Um, but yeah, they sit there and say like, "Oh, great job trying to erase out of existence the 2016 one. No respect." I'm like, okay, well, they did the exact same thing. So why are you getting mad at the new one that's actually a sequel when the one before it kind of insulted the legacy of Ghostbusters? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that regardless of whether you liked the next Karate Kid, at least it paid homage to
Yeah,
the original storyline. I think, and you can see that it fits in there sequentially, even if I didn't like it very much and
yeah,
found it
and
rather cringy. Again, for the sake of of Cobra Kai, it's always good to go back and rewatch it just
Yeah.
to kind of remember what's out there. I do wonder, that Cobra Kai has done such a great job of bringing back old characters.
Hmm.
Not just Daniel and William Zabka, but Hilary Shue and uh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth Shue, and a number of other people, like from the second Karate Kid movie.
Hmm.
Part of me feels like um, they're not going to just let the next Karate Kid go away. In fact, part of me feels like I wouldn't be shocked if we ended up with uh, those from the other Karate Kid movie with Jackie Chan at
That's a
this point.
possibility.
So
I mean, it would be a little weird to see Jaden Smith walk in and be like, I'm Cobra Kai or whatever. I don't, at least he'd be learning karate. Finally.
right,
That's,
not
I
kung,
never, I haven't
not
watched,
kung fu,
I actually own that movie because I bought the 4-pack of Karate Kid where it had
and
the
you haven't
kid.
watched it.
I haven't watched it. I have the DVD of it, but I haven't watched it. I don't know
So
why. I'm not avoiding it. Just the fact alone that it says Karate Kid and he's doing kung fu just bugs me.
Right.
Jackie Chan is not Pat Morita, but it doesn't. That part doesn't bother me. I like Jackie Chan. I don't know. I'm gonna watch it one day.
Yeah, I like Jackie Chan. I've been a fan of Jackie Chan for a long time. You're right. He's not Pat Morita. I think he's got an interesting story. Um, but I do believe that in that case, that Karate Kid movie was a lot like the gender bent. They were working really hard, just like the next Karate Kid was trying to make a female version of Daniel LaRusso as
Mhm.
Karate Kid. That one was really trying to make an African American version of Karate Kid.
Which that's
Um,
fine. I don't have a
but
problem
it's
with
the
that.
but it was I don't have a problem with it other than the fact that they basically just took the same story um, of Daniel Russo moving to a new area. They create this. It's the same environment. It's the same environment. Um, it just I would have liked a new original story.
Yeah, I mean,
And
especially like given the fact that they go to China or whatever instead of Japan, and it's kung fu instead of karate. At that point you're just really trying to prostitute the name out because it has nothing to do with karate, nothing to do with those movies. Why call it that? Why not
Right.
just call it like Kung Fu Kid or something like that? Just or Kung Fu. Just that's it. Like
Well, and I think we know why. I mean, I think that because of it, if you automatically call it Karate Kid, and all of us people, right? I think that they end up they're playing on that nostalgia, right? I'm gonna watch
yeah,
it simply because it's called Karate Kid.
right,
But
exactly.
there's
Same
a
with
reason,
Ghostbusters.
right? But there's a reason why we don't talk about the next Karate Kid, and there's a reason why people generally don't talk about the Jackie Chan version of Karate Kid that takes place in China because it just hits differently. And
It does. Well, I don't know that. I'm like, yes, it does. I've never seen it, but from
right,
what I've heard and what I've seen, promotional stuff, yeah, it definitely is different.
but Cobra Kai, I think, they've done a really great job of giving us, I think, a new story with new characters, and at the same time, they just kind of give us all those flashbacks to remind
Mhm.
us of the past movies. I am interested to see what's going to happen because John Kreese by himself is a
Yeah,
pretty formidable guy.
yeah.
You add Silver into the mix. Um, I feel like
He-
we've already had this big giant explosion happen between all the fighting that's taken place in the school and broken out, in both dojos. Um, I just wonder what's going to happen next.
I'm on the edge of my seat already, and it's
Right,
just under a month away. Corey's always here with a funny comment. Jackie
right.
Chan is Mr. Miyagi's cousin, so they're both Mr. Miyagi. I'm sitting here like, are they actually related in the movie? That would make
No,
sense. I don't know they're
no.
not, but like still, it was. You almost got me there for a second. And then Holly says, I've seen all the Karate Kid movies, but I haven't watched Cobra Kai. It sounds interesting. Cobra Kai is amazing.
It's great.
If you have Netflix, or you can actually get season 1 and 2 on DVD, which I own. I have Netflix right now, and I have the DVDs. I don't know why I bought them. I just finished watching all 3 seasons, and then went out and bought the DVD. Mostly because it was a Black Friday sale. It was like $7 or whatever it was. So I got that real cheap.
Well, so I think we're kind of, we might be jumping the gun. I think we assumed that everybody knew what Cobra Kai was about.
Yeah.
But if you've never watched Cobra Kai, let me give you the 30-second version just as a teaser, right? Fast forward, it's been what, 20 years? And
20,
we have
yeah,
it's been about that amount of time since the events from the movies come in, and we have Daniel LaRusso and we've got Johnny Lawrence, who have both grown up and they've lived their lives, and now we see them kind of come back, and we see them interacting as adults, kind of trying to survive, and we see those old conflicts from when they were younger kind of rear their heads. Anyway, really great show, especially if you loved the original movies. You're going to absolutely love what they do with Cobra Kai.
I mean, this show is like one of those reboot / continuations that are done right. Same with Ghostbusters Afterlife. I mean, I've seen so many people talk trash about both, but I've loved Cobra Kai and I love Ghostbusters. I went out and bought the Ghostbusters video game again that I once owned, got frustrated very early on, got rid of it, saw the new movie, and really wanted to play it again. I got so into the Ghostbusters that I started watching other Dan Aykroyd movies.
Right.
And I'm probably going to start watching I watched over the last few days, I watched My Girl and My Girl 2. All because Dan Aykroyd. I was like, that reminds me of Ghostbusters. And then I realized as a kid, I loved those movies anyway, those 2 movies. And the first one is so like, there's a lot more. I saw it a different way. I haven't watched My Girl in probably 15 years. And I'd watched it and I was like, wow, there was a few jokes that I got that I didn't get as a kid, obviously. Because, well, not obviously, but the part that I really not connected with, like I didn't relate to it, but when she's screaming at Macaulay Culkin, it's like, get out of here and don't come back to 5 to 7 days. I'm like, why 5 to 7 days? And now I realize, because she's at that age where her body is changing and all that. This isn't one of those shows, so we're not going to go into the discussions. But she just finds out what that all is about. And so she's like, don't come back 5 to 7 days. I'm like, oh, I get it now. And it's so emotional. Like the scene at the end where like they're having his funeral and everything. Oh my gosh. It kind of got me more now as an adult than it did when I was a kid, which it's good movies. This isn't the My Girl show.
Yeah, I was wondering. Like, I love Dan Aykroyd. I don't know if I would necessarily rank My Girl as one of his best movies, but I think he's somewhat of an underrated actor. You want to get if we're gonna make this a Dan Aykroyd appreciation episode, I'm gonna put my 2 cents in for Coneheads. Have you ever watched Coneheads?
Coneheads, yep.
Okay.
I remember watching Coneheads when I was younger and not realizing Chris Farley was in it until I was like a teenager. And I was like, he is in it. I need to go back and watch that again. Another one, Blues Brothers. And then there was the sitcom he did back in, I want to say it was like 99 or 2000, that Soul Man. He was he was like a pastor and like he had his family and I don't think it stayed around very long, but it was a decent show. I enjoyed it a little bit.
So I will tell you that a number of years ago, I actually went as one of the Blues Brothers for Halloween. And it was with our choir. And so everybody dressed up as somebody. And then we kind of went on stage and performed as our character. And so I got up with one of my other friends. And we did that I'm a soul man. You know, I'm a soul man. That was such a fun thing. So I totally forgot that I had done that. But
I'd forgotten. I don't know why, but given the fact that the show was called Soul Man, that was the theme song for the show.
Oh yeah,
which is amazing.
But I do feel like
a good show.
Yeah, I really do feel though like Dan Aykroyd is sort of underrated. But I love him in all the stuff that he does, specifically in Ghostbusters. I wanted to ask you though, who are these morons that didn't like Afterlife?
I don't know, like mostly critics on Rotten Tomatoes that I've seen, but
Okay.
I was curious. I went on Rotten Tomatoes just to see because I saw a couple of fan comments on Facebook, like, oh, okay. And speaking of Facebook, real quick, I'm gonna go ahead and put
Yeah.
up these social media tags, outlets, whatever you want to call them. Facebook.com/between a pod and a hard place. We got us on Twitter at pod and hard place. Follow our wonderful friend Mark Guggenheim at M Guggenheim, who has, well, we'll talk about this in a minute, but Bebo Saves Christmas. Crazy. He was an executive producer on that, and he brought us shows like Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow and all that great stuff. You can follow myself on Twitter at Stephen_Colton. You can follow Chris at CJ_Kirk1979, or find us on YouTube. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you're already there, but Between a Pod and a Hard Place.
And if you're not already following us on YouTube, this is really the opportunity. Take 30 seconds, go and subscribe, and that way you don't miss any other content.
Yeah, I mean, we've been having, daily episodes, not daily episodes, but daily shortcuts or clips of past episodes that Corey's been working on, and they've been great. Our latest round was Mark Guggenheim when we talked to him, and that interview was well over a year ago, and I listen to it again sometimes, and it's so good. He's so good. I love talking about Mark Guggenheim and all that. Just something I've been doing this last week. I need to slow down on buying a lot of action figures. And speaking of other episodes of YouTube and stuff that we have, I posted a couple of videos. One recently and I actually have the box still right here, so I'll show it. One of my childhood toys.
Oh, nice.
A turtle van. Now, this, of course, is a reissue. It's not the original. But I did find one of these at Walmart the other day, and I was hunting for whatever. And so I want to show a picture here. I saw all these toys that hadn't been stocked yet, and I saw the box for these, and I dug it out all stealthily, and I got so nervous, like I was stealing or something. And I'm just trying to open the box. You
just jumped right in and grabbed one, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted. Yep, and as Corey pointed out, the subscribe button is on the screen.
Yeah.
For all these short clips, so you can go on there and have a link to the full episode, and then subscribe link. And Brian, hey, looks like Toys R Us. And Brian, I actually know from Toys R Us. I was in high school and worked there for one season in 2004, and that's how we know each other originally. And he's also a big Kevin Smith fan, and he's actually been up. I was very jealous. He went up to the Quick Stop from the movie.
Oh, really? Wow.
Was actually there. And he brought me back a Coke that I still have somewhere from the store. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, nice. I bought this the other day, and there is a video of me opening this, unboxing it on YouTube. That if anybody wants to watch me open a toy, you can go and check it out.
So let's just kind of hang on that for a second.
Yeah.
I don't know how big a fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles you were, but I remember being in like third grade when the cartoon began, and for whatever reason, like that just captivated my imagination.
Oh yeah.
For whatever reason, I wanted to be a turtle. My brother and I, we would pretend to be ninjas. I mean, full disclosure, we went as far as to make our own weapons and beat the crap out of each other in our backyard.
It's funny you say that, because on the video where I opened this, there's some comments that Corey shared the same story.
Oh, okay.
He didn't go into like huge details, but he said like you would actually beat the crap out of each other with them and not just pretend.
Right.
So,
just in case you think that I'm like making it up or that it's not real, we legit made. I think we found like the chrome edging of a bumper, and it looked like a katana blade, and so we had those. I think we made exactly. There was no pretending. We made our own nunchucks, and
wow.
Yeah, those hurt, by the way, whether you clock yourself or you clock somebody else. So we did a lot of that stuff. We went as far as to create a Ninja Turtle club at school. Like I said, I was a really popular kid growing up, as you guys could tell. So
Yeah, you were the cool kid that beat the crap out of his brother in the woods with toys, not toys, but weapons that you made.
I mean, I
That's,
don't know. Steven, did you and your brother ever do stuff like that when you were growing up?
I mean, we didn't build weapons to attack each other with, but we fought and things like that,
Okay.
and all that kind of thing. But I can't say that we ever hit each other with weapons. But
I
I
just gotta
mean,
say, that was a missed opportunity.
well, I mean,
Such
I'm
a missed
sure, like
opportunity.
growing up, we threw things at each other, like objects, like, oh, here is a TV remote, you know, but without the creativity of building a weapon. Um,
Right.
but
Well,
still,
you know, and
I love Ninja Turtles. I always have.
right. Well, and it wasn't. We weren't doing fighting, to hurt each other. We
Right.
were, we were playing. We just happened to be using things that when you actually did connect with them, it hurt. Um, we also I like booby trapped our treehouse quite well,
Like Home
and
Alone style, like paint cans to the face, or
I had a brick attached to a string. I mean,
wow.
it was a pretty crazy setup. We were super creative, imaginative kids, and we had the freedom to do it. And that was, and we had the big, giant, extensive basement on top of it. So between our treehouse in the backyard and our giant basement playground area, and every piece of wood and string and nails you can imagine, it was you know, as weird as it sounds, I had a really great childhood.
Oh yeah,
And
that
you
sounds
know,
fun. I mean, honestly, it sounds dumb and dangerous, but it sounds fun.
it
I
well, I
know.
mean, yeah. I mean, isn't that childhood though? Childhood is a
Yeah.
time to be dumb and dangerous. I'm just so thankful that there wasn't stuff like social media and YouTube at that time.
Oh, that would be
Um,
amazing.
we would have gone viral.
I did some dumb stuff. I mean, not as much. My brother's was a bit older than me, but we never did things like that. We would, wrestle and play like that. But as far as just doing stupid stuff in general, I used to lay with a friend in our driveway, and we would lay on the ground and take small rocks and throw them up in the air and just lay there and to see if they would hit us. And that I don't know why we did that. We didn't see it anywhere. We were just like, you know what would be fun? Let's lay on the ground and throw rocks in the air and see if we get hurt. Okay, yeah. I mean, every now and then you get a rock to the eye or something like, oh, and then wonder why it hurts or something like, why did we do that? Like, I don't know. Want to do it again? Yeah.
Well, and
Um,
I think that you look back on those times as an adult and you go, "What was I thinking? Why
right.
why didn't I have any common sense?" And yet, for whatever reason, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Or if anybody's ever played paintball, but without paintball guns, but instead replaced them with air rifles with BB guns. I've done that a few times. Luckily, I never got hurt. I got a BB to the knuckle in like the middle of winter, so
Yeah,
that was fun. Ice
I've
cold
gotten a
BB.
couple. Yeah, I've gotten a couple ricochets from BB guns before. We had a fun game. Corey and I had we had a bow and arrow, and
Oh,
we did
jeez.
one of those. You could just imagine what we did with that. We would like fire the bow and arrow straight up and then run.
So raise your hand if you were left for dead in the backyard because it was wintertime. I mean, I can't say that I've been there, but I remember I was too afraid to climb trees because I couldn't get down. I would get up high somewhere and be afraid that I was going to die. Not
That
because I
never
would fall, but just because I would never get to climb down and get home.
right. That never stopped us. And we had two really awesome cherry trees in our backyard, and we would climb to the very, 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 very top. You know that point in a tree where you run out of branches?
Yeah.
That's where we would climb to. And what we loved was you get up there and the cherries are in season and you're just kind of eating. It was like a buffet, and you know, we got very good at climbing trees. But I remember one time I was up there. I might have been maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7,
Hmm.
and I got stuck. Right, I'm 40 feet up in the air. I'm stuck in this tree. I'm calling out for my mom, and my mom comes out to the backyard. She looks up at the tree and she says, "Chris, you got yourself up there." You can get yourself down. And she
Yeah.
turned around and walked back in the house. And I feel like if that really is such that's such 80s parenting, right?
Yeah. I mean, I remember a little bit of that. I mean, never that high up in a tree, but in certain situations, like you did this to yourself, like figure it out.
Yeah.
But going back to Ninja Turtles a little bit, Brian has a good either point theory, whatever you want to call it. Lots of folks don't know or realize that Turtles is a satire of Daredevil. I'm like, oh,
I did not know that.
And he brings up a few points here. He says the canister that transformed them hit a guy in the face before rolling into the sewer. Daredevil. A Foot Clan, The Hand. Turtles trained by Splinter, Daredevil trained by Stick. So, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, there's a lot of similarities. So
I would not have put that together, but thank you, Brian, for pointing that out.
I never would have thought about that either. Honestly, I was never huge into Daredevil, but I know enough to like say, okay, I can see those connections.
I mean, I love Daredevil, but I had not realized that there was some kind of connection between the two of them.
I think maybe Ben Affleck ruined it for me, which is odd because I actually enjoyed him as Batman. But as Daredevil, it's like, I don't know. I got to give it another chance. It's because I'm bad about that. I'll watch something, go, nah, and then like a year later, watch it again, like, ooh. And
did you watch the Netflix Daredevil?
I watched a little bit of it in the beginning, and I really couldn't get into it. I don't know what it was. Maybe because I wasn't as freshly familiar with the character. It had been a long time since I had seen anything about the character.
Go back and rewatch it. I really do believe that Netflix Daredevil, solves all the problems of the movie, and I think gives us a far more. Every single season is good. That usually is the consensus that most people have.
And
isn't
he rumored to be in Spider-Man No Way Home? Not the Daredevil, but like, isn't it that version? I believe that I've heard that.
Let me just answer that question with a question. Who isn't supposed to be in Spider-Man No Way Home?
I hear Optimus Prime is going to come in there. I hear Chucky the doll.
At this point, I mean, I think everybody's like, oh, all of these people are in it. I'm like, they can't all be in the movie.
I mean, yeah, think about it. I mean, like, if all these theories and rumors, watch every single one be in there. Pee Wee Herman is going to be in Spider-Man. Watch.
Right.
If he is,
he'll be on his little bicycle, and
Daniel LaRusso is going to like roundhouse kick Green Goblin.
Right. Well, and that's just like in What If, the idea of incorporating the multiverse means that nothing is off the table, but there's also been so much fan theory and speculation that you just don't know what is just people wishful thinking and what is actual studio going to be on the screen. And right now, I have no idea.
The only thing we know for sure is that Tom Holland is going to be in it. We have Willem Dafoe, we have Alfred Molina and Jamie Foxx, which earlier today in our Facebook group for this show, I posted a video or a link to a video for a villains panel, which I think it was in another country. I forget where. I want to say Brazil or something like that. I can't remember, but they were speaking English. The hosts and interviewers were speaking English. And it was so weird to see Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina and Jamie all together in the same room talking about coming back to Spider-Man because they've each had their own versions. And it was really cool. And I got super excited about it. And I'm going to see the movie on the 17th. I could have saw it on the 16th, which is the day before. The official release is the 17th, but they had some showings that Thursday night. But I had to work on Friday, so I didn't want to go to like a 10 or 11 o'clock movie and then have to get up early on Friday and all this. So being off on that Saturday, I figured, well, let me go to a 9:10. It was 9:10 p.m. And I haven't been to a late movie like that in a long time on a Friday night. And the ticket prices aren't that terrible. Everybody's losing their minds like, it's sold out, it's sold out, it's sold out. At this particular theater, at this particular showing time, right now, I looked at it again just out of curiosity. There's like 5 or 6 seats, but all at the edge of the theater. And then the entire front row is available. And I thought about getting a center front row seat. Always wanted to do it, but I don't want to be like the entire time and have to look straight up to see the screen.
I will say that I've done that once or twice where I went and got a front and center. In a live production, getting the front row center is a prime seat to have because you see everything. But in a movie theater, it's pretty terrible.
It's the worst. I'd rather be
It's the worst.
Back row center than front row.
Yeah.
I've been back row center tons of times. I like the center. I like to try to find the exact center of the theater because I like to have that straight ahead view. And now these days with the reclining seats, which is pretty much common everywhere, like you could lay there and be so comfortable, so you don't really have to worry about like sitting in this flat chair and like sticking straight up and like
right.
And especially because Spider-Man is 150 minutes, so it's going to be a 2.5-hour movie, and that's a long movie.
Yeah, I will say that if your chair does recline all the way back, then sitting front row center isn't that bad.
It would be terrible.
Yeah, you won't have to crane your neck because you can just literally lay back. But
I kind of regret that now. But
yeah, it's still not my favorite spot.
No, and I've already ordered a ticket, and I knew I would have to sit next to somebody, and I don't have a problem sitting next to somebody, but I'm like, I don't want to sit in between people I don't know. Like, but in a movie like Spider-Man, it doesn't matter. Like, they're all my cousins pretty much at that point because everybody is going to be like, yeah. And for Spider-Man, I didn't want to go into an empty theater on like the middle of the day on a Tuesday because
and you are from North Carolina, so that's very possible.
It is very possible. At least 30% of those people could probably are my
right. Right. I don't mean to knock North Carolina.
No, I mean it's honestly there's I'm not in love with any of them, so that's good. So I have that going for me. And so Corey says Millennium Falcon is going to be in it. I believe so. I think Spider-Man's going to like web up to it and like go wee, and then Chewbacca's going to be like, and then I just want Bruce Campbell to be in it. Right?
Yeah,
yes, I agree.
Or Corey, is it Bruce Campbell?
It could be.
There's a little bit of debate in our household about how we pronounce his name, whether it's Bruce Campbell, like the soup, or whether it's Bruce Campbell.
I don't know. I mean,
it's still up for debate a little bit, but yes, he should be in it. He really should. That would be a smart. Since we can't have Stan Lee, let's at least get Bruce Campbell.
I mean, he was in every Sam Raimi Spider-Man, and so was Stan Lee. So that was awesome to have both of those. I'm from South Carolina. Well, welcome to this show.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks for watching, and hello to South Carolina. I don't know if you're still there or not, but it's not too far. It's just south of North. Wow, that sounded really dumb.
You know what? Just a little bit of a brief timeout before we continue. I think it's amazing how we have people that are watching this show who are, all over the place. Here I am in Southern California, as is Corey. Steven's in North Carolina. We got someone from South Carolina. People all over the place are watching this podcast with us live, and that's really awesome.
Yeah, Brian is from South Carolina, but he lives here. But he's from South Carolina, which is pretty cool. I've always liked South Carolina. I haven't been down there in a while, about 3 years. I went down there back in 2018 for a wrestling show and just to have some fun. One of the last big fun events I had with my dad, which was pretty cool to look back on. So going back through here, we've been doing this the last few weeks. We take posts from our Facebook group and kind of share some of them on here. I tried to pick some that were church safe.
Okay. I appreciate that.
We lost a subscriber. But no, I mean, some of these are going to be funny. Some of them might be a little bit edgy. Honestly, I can't remember exactly which ones I picked. I just saved 6 or so and then put them on here. So we're going to go ahead with those.
All right.
Jessica posts when they go around the Justice League Thanksgiving table saying what superpower they were thankful for, Batman is about to answer. So I thought that was funny. I've seen that one posted online several times.
Right.
But I thought that was a great one. Our good friend J.A. Ledford, who's a good fan of the show, a good friend. He's in the group. He's very active. I'm hoping this is true. And they say, supposedly, rumor is that Doctor Strange 2, Hugh Jackman reprising Wolverine in Multiverse of Madness, that would actually be really cool. I mean, to see him come back. Because I believe he's like, I'm never going to be the Wolverine again. Like, this is it. I'm done. And if he comes back, like, I don't know. That would be pretty cool.
I've learned to never say never. I've heard so many times where people say, I'm not going to do something again. And then, they do it again. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say about the X-Men reboot. I don't know who's going to be there or what they're going to base it on. I mean, how do you have X-Men without Wolverine? But then how do you have live-action Wolverine without the real Wolverine? Like, how do you do that? So
yeah,
we'll have to see. Unless it's one of those things where it's going to be like kind of how Spider-Man and Venom have been, where there are separate universes. You could have Wolverine all by himself over here, retired, and then you could have, or dead, or whatever, you could have this other group over here without Wolverine and kind of pull him aside from all that. And I don't know. I'm excited to see those classic characters come back, like X-Men, Fantastic Four, all that kind of stuff. Because eventually they're going to redo all that.
As long as they do it right. That's what I'm saying. As long as they do it right, don't give me another garbage. I'm sorry, because the last Fantastic Four was far from fantastic. It was like the mediocre Four.
It's kind of like Green Lantern, but I like Green Lantern. I mean, people hate on it, but
you're in the minority.
I didn't love it,
the minority,
but I didn't hate it. So next one is let's see. So Bill posts this is his original art, so I just wanted to kind of share it. My Pharaoh Hawk. I can't even spell the name right. I can't even say it right, so don't feel bad. But named by my friend Tom Morgan, still working on the story. I think it's pretty cool. Pretty cool art. When I saw some original art posted in our group, I realized I was like, well, this group is much more than just an extension of the podcast. This is like just a group for people like us to come in and just talk about whatever. And
there are a lot of there are a lot of cosplayers. There's a lot of people, artists in the industry, along with people that have enjoyed comics and TV shows. It's what I love about our group, that it is such a diverse mix.
And that's why I kind of wanted to bring a lot of that into the actual show itself, because we made the group originally to be, hey, this is the group's or the podcast's group. And then we kind of like kept those two worlds a little bit separate, even though they were connected. So I wanted to kind of filter over some of that content into this show. And so the people in the group can go like, oh, wow, you read my comment or you read my post. Oh, yeah. And we'd be even more connected with everybody.
Yeah. It would be really cool to go and tag people like Tori Winter and all these other people so that they know, oh, we actually mentioned your post in our podcast.
That's something I need to start doing. What I do now is like halfway through the week, I'll go through the group and just pick a lot of posts and screenshot everything and then just add them on to StreamYard here. And then that way by Sunday evening, everything's ready to go. But I need to start doing one more step. Like you said, that's a good idea. Tag them. And so as we're promoting the show, like, hey, watch this. Or after it's done, like, hey, did you see yourself? I think that'd be a good idea. But Tori does post, like, when you lied on your resume, but now you have to do the job. That's kind of been how I've thought about work before. I'm like looking at all these jobs, in the past, like, oh, I could be a police officer. I've had no training, but I could just say that I have or whatever. Like, how hard could that be? But I never actually do it. So I'm glad I don't, because that would happen to me.
I know. Well, it's just funny because I'm actually currently in the middle of interviewing for another job. I had 2 interviews this last week. And the last one I did, I interviewed at an elementary school. And the hilarious thing is I've never taught elementary school in my life. But I threw my application out there and they liked it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go in there and interview. So
yeah, good luck with that.
Sometimes that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I applied. I was going to say it's almost the very same story, but not. It's a little bit different. I applied to a Chuck E. Cheese last year and did not get the job. Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
Didn't want to hire me. Whatever. I'm not heartbroken.
Were you supposed to be the mouse?
I don't know. I kind of hoped I could be. At least once, because then I would just run out the door and steal the suit, and
Yeah.
then I could just take it off in my car because they'd be looking for a 6 foot tall mouse, and so when I took it off, they'd just be looking for a guy. They wouldn't know what he looked like. But yeah, but then another post, Jessica, because I'm this old, Hawkeye. Now, if this was Hawkeye, I would watch that show. Oh well, I mean,
So I know. I mean, again, my dad was a Vietnam veteran of Vietnam and of Korea, and so for me, the old MASH show, I grew up watching that, and my dad was a medic in the military, so the idea of MASH kind of really related closely to him and his experience. I always loved it. That said, if you guys and Steven, I know you haven't yet. You're kind of late to the game as far
yeah, a
as
little bit.
watching Hawkeye. I'm going to tell everybody out there watching, if you have not yet watched Hawkeye on Disney Plus, it really is fantastic. I
And
really,
it's not
really
this version.
no, it's not. It's not. Though I love MASH, but this Hawkeye season, one of the things that Disney Plus has done a great job of, and the MCU in general, is shining a light on characters that have been overlooked. Whether it's what we saw in WandaVision, whether what we saw in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they do the same kind of thing that we get a chance to focus on Clint Barton and Kate Bishop. And again, I think if you watch it, you'll definitely at least respect his character a little bit more. There's a little bit of humor, really balanced with some great action. And in this last episode, they introduced a character named Echo.
Okay.
Echo was not a character that I was familiar with, though she is, related to Kingpin and Daredevil, and she's also deaf. And so one of the great things in the show is they kind of give us the origin story of Echo, and they have an actress who is actually deaf playing the character, but she's a complete badass, right?
Oh, wow.
Absolutely complete badass. She's a lot like what we saw in Black Widow, sort of like Taskmaster, who's like a mimic who can copy your abilities, except Echo's actually cool. So,
yeah.
Anyway, again, I'm just throwing my hat in the ring for Hawkeye. I really like it. I think it's great. And again, one of the things that they've done a great job of is writing these really, really tight stories with a clear beginning, middle, and end that still ties in with what's happening with the rest of the MCU. I just think it's brilliant.
Yes. I think Brian says, in the comics, Echo was actually the original Ronin. I didn't know that. I wasn't sure because I'm not huge into comics. Like, I do love comics, but it's more modern, like recent, and it's certain things. It's not. I'll know certain things about Spider-Man and like Fantastic Four, but as far as wider range of characters, I don't know.
Yeah, well, and they play around with the origin story. In this case, we all know that according to Avengers Endgame, Clint Barton was Ronin during that period when his that 5 years when his family had been erased in the blip, and he goes dark. That he becomes that agent of vengeance. Ronin. One of the things that we see here is that Ronin kills Echo's father. And so that's part of the bad blood between them, is that she wants justice for the death of her dad. And Clint is sort of, I think, he's not really proud of what he did as a vigilante, as Ronin. But he can't get behind it either. It keeps finding him. So,
yeah, I really need to watch it because in that, like when I saw him as Ronin, I was like, he's more interesting as that character than he was as Hawkeye to me. But this sounds like it really is kind of like the aftermath and like what happens next, which obviously it happens next. But I really need to watch it. I want to wait till other Disney shows are on because I don't like usually I'll subscribe to a service and watch one thing and then like never watch it again. So I don't want to waste Disney Plus again, like I did a couple of times. But I'll get to it pretty soon, hopefully. Brian says, I think it's going to cross over Netflix Marvel into the MCU with the Hawkeye show. I mean, that would be pretty cool. Like, that's what I was saying with Daredevil. If he came in, and then the Punisher too, all these other characters, that would be a great way to like kind of bring it all together.
Right. Well, I think one of the major crossovers that I think Brian's talking about is the fact that one of the characters that's been kind of briefly cameoed is the character of Kingpin, and I believe it's the same actor that played him in the Netflix series for Daredevil.
Okay.
That is being brought in for the show, and so there's that connection a little bit between those two worlds. Kind of cool, if you ask me.
It is. It's very cool. Another thing that's really cool, Bebo Saves Christmas.
All right. So you know what?
Bebo
You've got to give me some points, because before our show tonight, I went and watched Bebo Saves Christmas.
Okay.
And there were a bunch of different characters. I will have to say that the character that I probably related the most to is the little green guy, who is, I think he's supposed to be sort of like the Grinch.
Okay, yeah.
That's really kind of me in a nutshell for Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't listen to Christmas music. And while I like spending time with people, the over commercialization of the holiday, I definitely vibe with it. I did wonder, before I get your 2 cents, who were they making Bebo Saves Christmas for? Were they making it for fans of DC's Legends of Tomorrow who just happen to like Bebo, or were they doing it for kids? That was the question I was kind of scratching my noggin about.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, like, Bebo is obviously a fictional character. He wasn't even based on. I mean, he's probably based on like other like Furby and things like that, or a Gremlin or whatever. But in the show DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Bebo was like their like Elmo or whatever, the Tickle Me Elmo or whatever, because Elmo loves you, and you would hug him. And so that Bebo was the same. And then at one point in the show, they kind of really drew from Ghostbusters, where they had like a 50-foot tall Bebo like destroying the city in like a destructor form, kind of like the Stay Puft Man. And it was just a goofy, dumb character. And then we found out this is going to be a cartoon.
Right. I thought, believe it or not, that moment was like the epitome highlight of the show, right?
Yeah.
Because you see this big, giant, cushy 50-foot Bebo, and it is like kicking the crap out of the bad guy that looks like this demon. It was hilarious. I think it was everything that DC's Legends of Tomorrow, the craziness that it's always aspired to be.
Yeah.
That said, I don't know exactly what they were thinking about when they did Bebo Saves Christmas. What was your thought on that?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I didn't really realize it was a thing until I saw Mark Guggenheim tweet about it. And of course, Mark serves as an executive producer on Bebo Saves Christmas. He was one of the people that I don't know if he personally had a hand in creating the character itself, but of course, he was one of the creators of the show Legends of Tomorrow. So when he tweeted about it, I was like, is this a joke post, or is this going to be like a live action? I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I didn't have any expectations. I know I wanted to see it just to see it, because it's Bebo, it's related. And like, when you asked who was this for, I was in that category of Legends fans that like Bebo, that think it's fun. And I didn't know. And the whole time watching it, it really was a children's program. Like, there were little moments of like the little grumpy characters and things like that, but there were no big like adult humor jokes that were softened so only adults could understand. I didn't see any of that. It was like purely like I was watching Barney, like Corey said. And it's weird. I enjoyed it, but at the same time, it's like I felt like I had seen it before. I don't know. I don't know what to think of it. I mean, it wasn't terrible, and there was a voice in that show that or the movie, whatever, little special that I could not place for the longest time until the credits hit, and Santa Claus himself. It was Ernie Hudson, and I didn't. I was like, who is that? Is that no? It's not James Earl Jones. No, I just watched Ghostbusters Afterlife like 2 weeks ago. Just watched the other two Ghostbusters movies like 2 weeks before that, and just played the video game twice, and I still couldn't place his voice because he's in all of those.
Yeah. So I thought that I thought that the theme of Bebo Saves Christmas was, I think it was a good theme, but I think it's a theme we've heard before.
Yeah.
Right? That Christmas is not about gifts. It's not about toys. It's not about, how many Twitter followers you have or all of these things. It's about the spirit of Christmas. I kind of get it, but again, I do find who exactly was watching it and who's going to keep watching it. I don't know as if it's going to be. I'm not going to go walking down the street humming the tunes.
Yeah, I don't know. Brian chimed in again. He said, check out Steven trying to go tie it back to Ghostbusters. Smooth.
Right.
Well, I mean, honestly, I was trying to, but Ernie Hudson really was in it, and he voiced Santa Claus, which is weird.
Yeah.
Not weird that they had a black Santa. That didn't bother me. That was cool. I thought, whatever. It's cartoon. And then, but the voice itself, it stuck with me. I'm like, hey, I'm Santa. I can't do the voice. But I couldn't place it. Santa was working at like a Starbucks or something like that. And it's like, really? Because some other guy came in and fired him as Santa. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. It almost felt like the humor, like the style of comedy that is in Legends of Tomorrow. It kind of felt like a parody of like a Charlie Brown type of thing, or Peanuts, or the Rudolph claymation. It felt like a parody of all those things put together, while also being something different but the same, and just like a joke. Like watching it, you're thinking like they really did this. They really spent the time and made this.
They did.
Wow,
I mean, I think
that's a good joke.
Yeah, it was a serious comedic attempt. That was definitely true.
And when I say it was a joke, I don't mean like it was a joke. It was terrible. I mean, I enjoyed watching it. It kind of made me feel like a kid again, but at the same time, it was just so weird because it was Bebo. And then the whole time, I'm sitting here like, is he gonna say it? Bebo loves Christmas. And at the end, Bebo loves you. Like, yay! And he said it, and I cheered for that. As dumb as it sounds, because that's all the toy could say in the show and Legends was Bebo loves you. Bebo loves you. And I really love the fact that he said that. I don't know why.
But not one legend though.
No, I was disappointed. I thought it was going to be more. Yeah. But see, then what I took from that was that this piece of fiction was a piece of fiction within the piece of fiction that is Legends. So this was like, we are in the same world as the Legends watching this on TV. And this is where the Bebo toy came from. And so it's a cool way to look at it. I hope they do more Bebo specials. They need to do Bebo Halloween, Bebo New Year's, Bebo goes evil, Bebo goes to camp, Bebo scared stupid.
I don't know. I as much as I would love Bebo scared stupid, and that would be amazing. I feel like maybe I'm just not the right demographic. Like, I'm 42 and my kids are both grown women, and so I don't have a reason to watch it, or I don't have to. I'm just not the target audience, though I'm familiar with the character. I thought it was interesting and clever, but I was one of those things I'd probably only ride or watch, once.
Bebo rides again. I mean, if they could really go places with this, a weekend at Bebo's,
right?
Bebo Busters. Look at me trying to tie it back to Ghostbusters again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then another main thing we haven't really talked about. But before we get to that, I want to throw out this story that happened to me a few days ago at work. So I work at an airport, and it's a small airport. It's a very small regional airport here, so you don't see a lot of craziness. I mean, there's some things that happen. And celebrities come through sometimes, and I don't think anything of it. Now, if I worked at like a shop in LAX or something, or somewhere at in New York or a big city airport, then I would expect, especially in LAX, I would expect celebrities all the time. Movies. Oh, you're going to do this movie, this movie. But here, I don't expect it. So apparently, I was working, and then I went out on a break. I was sitting outside, and a TSA officer came up, come up to me. He was already there, and we were talking. He goes, "Did you know Mel Gibson just came through our airport?" Like, Mel Gibson, really? When? Like an hour ago. I'm like, I was in there working an hour ago. Yeah, he came right through and everything. He was with his wife and kids and everything. I was like, what? Why? Why? Well, not why, but why did I not know this? How did I not tell? And then, so I'm like amazed by this. And at the end of the night, as I'm getting ready to leave, a girl that works in there, she's also told me, like, hey, did you know who was in here? I'm like, yeah, Mel Gibson. I heard about that. He's like, no, you checked him and his wife out at the register. Like, really? When? And she was like, oh, about 1:43. I'm like, you knew exactly when it was? Like, why didn't somebody just throw something at me and say, hey, look, it's Mel Gibson?
So not only did he come through your airport, but you literally serviced Mel Gibson.
Yeah. And I didn't even know. He didn't speak, but apparently it was his wife who, was paying. And I'm glad I didn't look at the receipt and see the Gibson name. Like, see, I told you. But I didn't even I met Mel Gibson and didn't even know it. So that it's Brian says one of my friends saw him, but I can't remember where. Apparently he was here in Asheville, which again is not a very large town. It's growing, it's overpopulated, but it's not a very large place in comparison to like a New York or Los Angeles or anything like that. But yeah, how often do you meet Mel Gibson and not even know you met him until someone told you that you met him? And it's like, I don't pay attention to people because especially with masks now, like you can't really tell who's who. I'm thinking like, how many people have I talked to? I probably personally talked to Tom Hanks or something, not even knowing it, or Woody Harrelson or Tom Holland. Who knows? Like people come here sometimes.
It does make me wonder if people who are celebrities kind of enjoy the fact that they're wearing masks so they don't get constantly harassed about, could you imagine you're walking through an airport and everybody wants to get a selfie with you, or they want an autograph, or they want to stop and ask you questions?
I mean, honestly, it would be pretty cool to be able to hide like that in plain sight. And with Mel Gibson, he was wearing a ball cap, kind of like this, and then he had a mask on, and he's got the beard and everything, and he looks older now, than he used to. And so watching his movies, or he's got darker hair in the movies that I've seen more recently. So looking at it in that situation, I'm like, I don't expect to see like this white-haired, bearded guy in a mask and a hat. I expect to see Lethal Weapon in my information. So I guess I did make the connection, and I was too busy like doing crossword puzzles in the downtime, which is what I've been doing lately. Slow downtime at work, I'll have a crossword there and just do it. And then I look up and I'm like, oh, hello. Oh, would you like a receipt? No. Okay, have a good day. That was Mel Gibson. What?
Yeah, it's crazy. So you just need to make sure you pay more attention. A number of years ago, I think it might have been maybe 8 years ago, we were flying. I was flying alone with my kids, and we were on a plane flight. And there was this guy that kept walking back and forth in the aisles, and I thought that was odd that he was kind of, but he seemed to know everybody on the plane. And my kids would get up and go to use the restroom while they were on the airplane, and apparently they had bumped into him a couple times during the flight. And we get off the plane flight, and something about him seemed familiar, but I didn't click until we were in the terminal and the guy was walking around and somebody had said the name Michael Tate, and I was like, Michael Tate, that's the same guy who was the lead singer of one of my favorite groups, DC Talk, and was currently the lead singer of Newsboys. And he walked past, and as he was walking, I said, "Hey, are you Michael Tate from DC Talk?" And he stops, comes over, and he says, yeah, well, that I used to do that a long time ago. But we stood there and had a conversation probably for 3 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this was something that I had followed probably for 2 decades. It was cool that he stopped in the middle of his day and came over and talked with me. But typical, I didn't ask him for an autograph or take a picture.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I actually sat or stood and spoke with anybody was when I met Kevin Smith, which was in 2018, and he came here for a show, so it wasn't like an accidental meeting. And I was too nervous to even say anything. I'm like, oh, thank you, you're great, oh, whatever, and shook his hand, got a picture and all that, got an autograph, and it was awesome. And I actually used that, I believe, as my Twitter. I think it's Twitter picture still. So if you follow at Steven_Colton, you can see a picture of me and Kevin Smith. So you really want to go look at that.
I think that one of the things we've realized, between the interviews we've had with people like, Mark Guggenheim or Eric Goins or Jordan Elsass or just recently Alex Collins. I mean, is that kind of the takeaway that we get here, is that these are people we think of as being celebrities, and yet you have a conversation with them and you realize, wow, these guys are just normal people, down to earth human beings like us?
Yeah. I mean, I have a feeling Mel Gibson would be kind of a jerk. Not that he would be, but he's the most famous person I ever have shared a room with that I know of. And he probably would have been like, shut up, kid, or something like that. I don't know. But other than him, not to say that he's going to be like that, but yeah. I think that people, especially Kevin Smith, because that phrase, never meet your heroes and all that stuff that we've mentioned on this show a few times before, he lived up to, not to that saying, but the opposite of that saying. He was a great guy. It was wonderful. And
well, we've all heard of people who, on the other side, they're celebrities who they say do not approach them because they're jerks.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that about what's his name? Huge name. Bruce Willis. People like that, these big huge names that. So even if I had realized Mel Gibson was Mel Gibson, I probably wouldn't have said, "Hey, you're Mel Gibson, Lethal Weapon." I would have just said, "I'm too old for this shit," something goofy, and he'd have been like, "That's the other guy, idiot." And
right.
Then, I don't know. I would be too nervous to say anything, point it out. I would say hello, greet him. I might be like, "I like Lethal Weapon," and then cover myself, thinking he might hit me. I don't know.
Yeah, you're like, "I love you" as Wolverine.
Yeah, weren't you in My Girl? Oh, never mind. That was Dan Aykroyd. You were in that other movie. I did enjoy that movie, What Women Want, with Mel Gibson and who was
that really?
Girl?
I've always thought that being able to read women's minds would come in handy.
I mean, that was an enjoyable movie. I was younger, maybe my 20s or late teens or whatever when I saw that, but it was a good movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was neat. I thought, for a second, I almost tried it. I'm like, let me throw the hairdryer into the bathtub during a lightning storm and see if that happens to me. Never mind.
Don't do that.
But you have to be wearing makeup while you do it, though. If you're wearing makeup, it works.
Right.
But don't do it.
Right. And spandex or pantyhose.
Yeah, it was pantyhose, makeup,
right.
And maybe a dress, I think.
Right. Eyeliner.
Yeah, you got to go the whole way.
Yeah. I would just say let's not do that, Steven.
I mean, it's not the first time a lightning storm gave someone a power. Of course, I'm talking about Barry Allen, the Flash.
Oh, you know what? And I think that is the most clever segue I've ever seen.
I didn't plan it either.
There.
I did not plan it. I just thought Mel Gibson, lightning, bathtub, lightning, powers.
It was
Flash.
just meant to be. It was just meant to be. Yeah. And I think we should probably take full advantage. There we go.
Flash.
So that is the second rate Flash, though.
Yeah, this is the Wish.com Flash.
He's actually the third. He's actually the third best Flash.
Yeah, I mean, the more I see that, I like this Flash better, now that I saw him, well, it was just 2 years ago almost, but when he was in Crisis on Infinite Earths, that really boosted my liking of that version just because he was on the screen with Grant Gustin. And a push-up bra too. Got to have that. Barry Allen was not wearing a push-up bra though.
No.
He was in a lab. He got covered in chemicals, lightning. The Speed Force chose him. And now we're seeing a special. This is, what is it, the third week that we just saw? Or is it going into the fourth? I lost track.
This was the third week.
Okay, so we're going into 4 this coming Tuesday. And I've loved this special. And I think if that's any indication of how the rest of the season is going to go, this very well could be their last season. Because think of how strong they're going right now. We both have said it reminds us of season 1, season 2 Flash, when it was great. And, every episode of the special, at the end of the last one, we saw, oh gosh, I already forgot. There was so much going on. We saw Black Lightning come in and Flash is calling for the, injustice. So they're kind of incorporating the Injustice storyline from the comics and stuff. And so, at first he's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to fight. And he convinces Barry to okay, let's, hold off on losing your powers kind of thing.
And so, yeah, the whole idea here was that Barry is afraid that he's going crazy.
Yeah.
And instead of becoming a danger to himself or the people he loves or to the world, he wants Black Lightning to come and take his abilities away. Which, number one, I didn't know that Black Lightning could steal Barry's speed.
I didn't realize that either, but it makes sense if you think about it, because he could sort of absorb the electricity and absorb all the lightning and everything. And as we saw in Crisis, he kind of contained that treadmill that Earth 90 or 90s Flash Barry Allen was running on. And it makes sense that he could pull his speed out. But I'm glad he was unsuccessful. I think he was holding it back, honestly, because Barry's like, one more time, let's keep going. Because he had drained him of some of the speed, but I think he held back and left a lot of it on purpose because he knew it was a bad idea. And that special is just getting so much better and better and better. I wish I had the promo pictures, because we see that Tom Cavanaugh's coming back once again to play Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash. Now I'm going to be interested to see how this Thawne comes to be. Is this the Wells we saw last, the Infinite Well, whatever they're calling the original Wells, that is weirdly different and all the Wells at the same time, but only. I wonder if he comes back and then Thawne takes over, because last we saw Thawne, he was floating around somewhere in a lightning storm. Don't know where he's at or where he's been.
I mean, I think we know that somebody's been messing with the timeline, right?
Yeah.
Between Joe's surprise death and all of the things that have been messing with Barry, definitely feels like Thawne's been involved, and that it seems like Thawne has somehow stepped in and taken Barry's place.
Yeah, and because at the ending, the very last scene of this last episode, we see Barry go to 2031, which is 10 years in the future, when he supposedly destroys Central City and all this stuff. And we see that Thawne is next to Iris, and they are the Flash. Well, they don't say that, but they're together, either married or I assumed they were just married or about to be married. And Barry sees this like, what the hell is going on? And then Iris is like, what is he doing here or whatever? Everybody hates Barry. They're looking at him like, you're the devil.
Yeah.
And Thawne is just like, I'm just trying to love my girl and drink some champagne. What are you doing, Barry? Why are you harassing me? And it's really confusing. And once again, we feel that confusion with him. Like, what is going on?
Right. I've seen pictures that have come out that show Barry in the yellow Reverse Flash outfit.
Yeah, and it's a new suit.
So, yeah.
I wish
so it does make me. I know it does make me wonder though about how that's going to play out. Whether we've got Eobard Thawne, who is masquerading as the Flash, and we've got Barry Allen, who is going to be, taking on the Reverse Flash persona. I think that's going to be really interesting.
It is. It kind of feels like an Elseworlds situation, kind of like we saw a few years ago, and that's pretty cool. We're gonna see. I think I have the picture here. I want to try to share that real quick because I think it's too cool of a picture to not share. So if you don't want to see this picture and whatever, look away, I guess. But we've already told you what it is, so it's not like it can be spoiled anymore.
Avert your gaze. Avert your gaze.
But here we see. Warning. Yeah, spoilers. Don't look right now. Here we see Barry in a yellow Reverse Flash suit, which is the newer suit, which is the style of his current suit, which is pretty cool. And then we see Thawne in the Flash suit, and they're facing each other. And this looks like the same setting as we last saw them at the end of the last episode. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they get to this point. And yeah, I'm super excited to see that.
I am too. I've got to say that I'm enjoying the crossovers. The Jefferson Pierce, who again, I really felt like the Black Lightning show had a lot more to offer, and I was really disappointed they chose to end it after the 4th season. But Jefferson Pierce showing up, he had always, for me, I always enjoyed the idea that here's a guy who is, he's a teacher and ultimately a school principal, who somehow finds the energy, no pun intended, to be an educator by day and then a crime fighter by night. As an educator myself, I'm like, I don't know any educator who can go and work their day job and then grade papers and lesson plan and then find time to fight crime.
Well, he has a lot of energy.
He does. He's got more to him. I would have loved to have that. But I think that more so it was not his powers that really made him made the impact in this last episode. It was really his words. That once again, it was the inspiration for Barry, the reminder that, why are you giving up? Right? You got one life to live. Make sure that you live it to the fullest. Don't quit. And I think Barry, as optimistic as Barry usually is, he needed that reminder that that life is a gift and he shouldn't waste it.
And Joseph says, shouldn't the reverse of red be green? I never really sat and thought about that. I guess it could be. But yellow looks so much cooler. Would it look as cool if he were in green? I mean, it will look pretty cool, but
waiting. I think they're waiting for the Christmas episode.
Yeah, then Bebo will be there. Like, Bebo hates you, and he'll be evil.
The evil reverse Bebo.
Bebo kill.
Right. I think what we need to do is we need to make a recommendation to the Flash people that really Eobard needs a green outfit, not a yellow one.
Yeah, I mean, it would be cool to see.
Right.
Well, the cool thing about the original Reverse Flash suit in the show is like half of his lower half was like a blackish green already. So his pants were more of a darker color. And this newer one that we just saw, it's like straight yellow. So that's, unless his legs are darker, we didn't really see his full suit.
I had really felt like that version of Reverse Flash, he had not washed his outfit in a long time. And to me, it seemed like it was kind of dingy yellow, like he needed to run through a car wash or something.
It looked like it. Corey makes a good point to what Joseph pointed out, is that it's because Barry's suit is red with yellow accents, so they flipped that. And so that's a good point. It's not so much that the yellow is the reverse of red. It's just red with yellow, and then flipped it with yellow with a little bit of red.
Well, and if you also think about, Reverse Flash's eyes when he uses the Speed Force, isn't it? Or his eyes are red, right?
They're a little bit red, yeah. So, and Barry's eyes are kind of yellow with his lightning, and then Reverse Flash's lightning is red. and of course Barry's is yellow. And I've been in so many online arguments with people like his lightning isn't yellow, it's orange. Like it's yellow, it's not orange. Why would it be orange? I mean, there are some orangey tints to it, but they tell you it's yellow, so just accept that it's yellow. Like, I don't know. It's not a very big detail to argue about.
All right.
But,
so what is your highlight so far of Flash Armageddon?
I mean, the one specific moment that I was most excited for was the end of the last episode where we see Thawne again, which
Right.
It's kind of funny because Tom Cavanaugh left like a year ago. He's like, I'm done with the Flash. I'm moving on to other things. Okay, that's fine. Respect. You do what you have to do. But then he immediately came back for like 3 or 4 more episodes, and then he left again. And I was back for this. I'm like, if you're gonna stay, stay. It's almost like as a kid, you run in and out of the house, and people say, like, I'm not gonna heat the outside, or don't run in and out of the door. And it's like, I love the fact that he's back, but I mean, I would love to see more of them. But as far as like, I don't think that's like the best thing so far. I think the best thing was like, oh gosh, finding out that Joe has passed away, and the effect it had on Barry and the looks everybody else gave Barry. It was that moment that he realized, like, I am going crazy. Well, he thought he was, or thinks he is. It was that moment that really pushed everything forward.
Yeah, I really liked having Ray Palmer back. I thought that was kind of a neat moment. There's not enough Brandon Routh in the Arrowverse anymore.
It's really not, and I don't know why they took him off Legends. And Mark, I know you're not really working on the show anymore, and you just kind of do consulting work on it sometimes. But call him up and be like, listen, get my buddy Brandon back in the show, because he's one of my favorite Supermen. I mean, aside from, well, they're all my favorite. I don't want to put him up there, but he's actually one of the more convincing looks. He really did look a lot like Chris Reeves, like a lot. Like he resembled him to the style Superman Returns was, and then bringing that back to Crisis, that was just amazing. So I hope we see him as Superman again at some point in this season, or maybe even maybe Superman and Lois gets to a point where they start looking into the multiverse and we see Superman come in and different Lex Luthors come in or something. But yeah, I'm loving the Flash. I'm really excited and looking forward. We already know that that Robbie Amell is coming back as Ronnie Raymond, but we don't really know. We don't have any context to that. We don't know in what capacity. Is this a flashback? Is this a dream sequence? Is this a
different world?
A different world, or we don't know. Or could he finally have fallen out of that singularity and be like, dude, I'm okay. I've been stuck up there for like 5 years, but I'm good. We don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, the fact is, Caitlin has been like miserable. Nothing really to be passionate about or anything other than, science and medicine. And I think that she needs something about her character that finally she can be happy about. Let's see. Well, I know that there are a couple of other characters that are supposed to cross over here as a part of Afterlife, or not Afterlife, as a part of this Flash Armageddon. What's the one character you're kind of looking forward to the most in the crossover?
As far as what we haven't seen yet, I kind of am looking forward to the Green Arrow with being Mia Queen from the future. And I know people are sick and tired. A lot of people on Facebook that I've noticed, not on our group, but in general, they've said, they ruined it. They ruined it. That show is bad. They ruined season 8 of Arrow, blah, blah, blah. I loved those future flash forwards and Mia and all those characters. I thought it was great. I really wanted to see Green Arrow and the Canaries, and I was disappointed when CW didn't pick it up. But I'm kind of looking forward to seeing her because of the relationship between Barry and Oliver, and that was the moment that Barry snaps out of his little daze that, when they're fighting in the Hall of Justice, I guess it is, and then they knock over the Green Arrow suit, and it's on the ground, and he's like, "Oh no, I got Oliver's clothes dirty. You're right. I shouldn't be doing this." But it was that moment. So I'm like, I want to see how they pull her back and how they get to her. I guess he meets her probably this next episode. But I think she's in the finale of the special, not episode 4. Which Barry might stay in the future for a while. But 2031 seems to be about the time that she would be there. Or maybe he goes further into the future to stop what happened. Or time travel. Oh my gosh. Oh,
I know.
Scott.
No, I want to kind of piggyback on that idea that I know people have put a lot of blame on Mia as being the reason why the Green Arrow and the Canaries wasn't picked up, and frankly, I don't buy into it. I thought that the lady who played Mia Queen, I thought she was a fantastic actress. I thought she did a great job with the character.
Mm-hmm.
I really did. I liked it. I think as far as the story, I thought it was a neat idea that the story of the Green Arrow doesn't end, that the legacy continues even into the future. But I feel like there are people who didn't like Olicity, right? They didn't like those people who there were those who really believed that Oliver was supposed to be with Black Canary.
Yeah.
And the idea that they ditched that relationship for Felicity, and a lot of those people kind of transferred that hatred of Felicity onto Mia. That's kind of what I've noticed a lot. I think that they need to get over it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it had a very Smallville vibe because when I was younger watching Smallville, and I just started rewatching Smallville on Hulu, but the whole Lana Lang and Clark Kent, like, oh, and they're playing all these like love songs at the end of every episode, which really center on Clark like looking over, like all sad that he can't be with her, and that I don't know, and it's like it's not Lois Lane, that's not Lois Lane, and then I don't know, it's kind of that same idea as far as the fandom hating her for being with him and this and that. But I think Felicity was amazing. I've always liked Felicity. I love that character when she was on The Flash. And like Barry sped her in, and her shirt was on fire, and she's sitting there in her bra, like, oh, like that was such a funny moment. Like, that character always had that humor and that intelligence, and she was like Caitlin and like Cisco and Barry all rolled into one character, but like all the great aspects of all those other characters into one great character, and I liked her kind of better.
She was clever, she was goofy, she was nerdy. I think that she was sort of the hot girl. They were really playing the hot girl that doesn't realize she's pretty angle for a long time. The idea that she goes from basically being an IT locked away in a cubicle someplace to becoming the CEO and Oliver Queen's wife. I think, talk about a rags to riches kind of story. But I liked her. I always thought she was quirky and fun. But again, she got a lot of hate, and by extension, that got transferred on to Mia. I think that corporate wise, the CW has a pretty poor track record with spinoffs. Whether it's the Painkiller series that was supposed to come out of Black Lightning, or whether it was the Green Arrow and the Canaries. They don't necessarily greenlight every spinoff that they end up kind of hinting at.
And that's been going on for close to 20 years. Because I remember going back to Smallville, they had a spinoff. Well, it wasn't really a spinoff, but it was. Well, I guess it was a spinoff. They were going to do Green Arrow and the Arrow show, and I had heard talk it was going to be that version just kind of like branched off, but no, let's recreate and do it. That was one case where they did a good job because that Arrow was amazing. Then they did the Aquaman pilot, which wasn't really a spinoff of Smallville, but like Smallville had been going and it was so popular. They're like, let's do Aquaman. And they did, and it was horrible. So they never made another episode. It wasn't that bad, but it made me kind of appreciate Jason Momoa just a little bit more. which I never was a fan of Aquaman in general. I just the character itself. Every time I hear Aquaman, I see like the 60s, 70s, like riding a purple floaty like unicorn seahorse
Right.
with the. That's what I see no matter what version of him. I just never really was into the Aquaman character, but
yeah, it reminds me of The Boys a little bit, where I think about the joke that you really don't need Aquaman unless you're around some kind of body of water.
yeah.
Now we know that Aquaman has,
Joseph says most of the Justice League in Smallville was pretty bland, and it was. I mean, their Bart Allen was really funny, but and Cyborg was probably the most bland. I loved that character. I loved that actor, but he was all human on the outside. You didn't see any kind of mechanical components except one time, really, when Clark X-ray visions him and sees the little classic comic look on his face, and then he went back to being like, oh well. I guess back then, especially, they didn't have the technology. Or they had the technology, but it was probably so expensive they couldn't really handle, making somebody half cyborg. So
yeah, I've got to say, I really love the idea though that CGI has gotten to a place where they can just kind of use it whenever they want to.
Yeah.
But even the idea, I know that we're kind of wrapping things up.
Yeah.
But even the idea of the Matrix. Right, when the Matrix came out, 20 some years ago, that was like mind-blowingly amazing. The idea that finally they had gotten CGI to a level where they could accomplish that effect, where it was believable. So I'm excited about this new relaunch. I hope they just do it justice. That's what I'm hoping for.
I need to watch Matrix again and Matrix 2 and then watch this new one that's coming out, I believe, in like a week or two. And not even 2 weeks. I think it comes out before Spider-Man.
That soon. Wow.
Or maybe a little after Spider-Man. It's very close to Spider-Man. It's either like December 12th or 15th or 19th. It's somewhere in that range of the teen dates. But it's very close.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that and Spider-Man.
I agree. Well, yeah, I know we've talked a lot. Yes. I know we talked about a lot of stuff here tonight. Like we're kind of wrapping things up.
Mm-hmm. We are, and hopefully, let's see what's coming up this week that we need to watch. The Flash Armageddon Part 4.
Absolutely,
that's the big thing right now, and because we know when Flash Armageddon concludes, I think it ends in. I want to say early January or late December. I can't remember the exact date of the last part. But once it ends, Flash won't be back on until March. Which
so we got a long wait.
Yeah, I hate that they do that. I hate it when they tease you a little bit and then they're like, you know what? Wait 3 months. I know you waited a whole year for season 7 and that was kind of garbage, but here's this great season 8 beginning. Now you got to wait 3 more months.
Right. And just as a reminder, if you guys haven't watched the Hawkeye, they're going to be doing episode number 4. I think there's only exactly. I think there's only a total of 6 episodes, so it's not a whole lot, but it's a great show. You're gonna love it. And then, if you haven't yet gotten aboard the Young Justice Phantoms, this is the season 4 of the Young Justice show. That's really, really good too. So check that out.
Yep. And if you're like me and you haven't seen Hawkeye, then, well, you don't have to watch it.
What are you waiting for?
You should.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm waiting for Disney Plus to have a special or something, like get it for 99 cents a month, like I did with Hulu. That's why I've been watching a lot of Hulu.
If you're really worried about pricing, though, wait until all the episodes drop and then binge them all at once.
That's generally what I do. That's what I did with WandaVision. That's what I did with the other one. What was the other show?
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Falcon and Winter Soldier. I did that with all of those this past year and watched them all at once because it's hard for me to watch one and then have to wait a week.
Exactly. It's what I did with Heels too, with Stars. I just binged it all and then dropped it the next day. So
and I was the opposite with Heels because like I could see it that morning. I'm like because it came out every Sunday, so I watch it. I believe it was Sundays, and I would watch it that morning before work, I would watch it at like 7 a.m. every week, and that was my routine until it went off. And I'm like, what? Now what?
I know. Well, hey, this has been great. We've had a
Yeah.
lot of people that have joined us here for the live show.
Mhm.
You know, if you're watching us live, hey, go and share this with a friend. Encourage them
Yes.
to go and subscribe to us on YouTube. Let them know that we record live every Sunday, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. Again, we really want to just encourage the viewership here for the podcast, especially if people that love pop culture, superhero stuff as much as we do. So,
And if you like seeing grown men open toys, you can check out those videos on YouTube. We're adding tons of little content like that. And it's been a lot of fun.
yeah. So thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, and everybody have a good week. Watch The Flash. Watch Hawkeye if you feel like it, and definitely watch Hawkeye. I'm gonna watch it eventually.
Yes.
Watch it.
You will thank me. You will thank me later. I promise. You will not regret it.
I hope not. I haven't regretted any other suggestion yet. So, except for Arrow, that show was terrible. But no, it was one of the better ones actually. I gotta strike hard. I have no mercy.
Strike fast.
Yeah, strike dead. I just got shot. All right, everybody, have a good week. That was a really weird and lame joke. Watch Cobra Kai. Watch all this great stuff. Follow us, and you'll see our social media handles pop up again with our song on our way out. So it's been fun. Everybody, have a good week.
All right. Good night.
Good night.